Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. On this program, I want to review the four groups who will reign with Jesus during the millennium. And the question is whether you will be qualified for any of these four groups. One thing is certain: if you take the mark of the beast microchip, you will not qualify to reign during the millennium. In fact, St. John writes that you will go to hell, along with all of the others in the New World Order who are pushing people to take the mark of the beast. Now let's look at Matthew chapter number 24, where our Lord reveals the four groups who will reign with him during the millennium. Jesus describes four different groups who will reign with him during the millennium. The first are those who are in Judea, who will flee to the mountains. This is during the reign of the Antichrist, when he establishes the abomination of desolation. In verse number 17, Jesus describes a second group who will escape the Antichrist. And he that is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Well, if you are on the housetop and you cannot go down for any reason, the only other direction is up. And therefore, Jesus here is referring to the rapture. And in verse number 18, Jesus refers to a third group who will escape the Antichrist. Neither let him who is in the field go back to take his cloak. Well, if you are in a green, fertile field, and you must go away from the field, the only direction is into a desert. And here Jesus is talking about the Catholics, who will escape the Antichrist with Mary and flee into the wilderness. In verse number 19, Jesus talks about a third group. And woe to them that are with child or nursing in those days. The key word here is woe, because Jesus is talking about the martyrs. Thus we see Jesus talk about four different groups: the converted Jews, the raptured Protestants, the protected Catholics, and the holy martyrs. These are the four groups who will reign with Jesus during the 1,000-year reign of peace. We need to remember that here in Matthew, Jesus is not talking about one group, as most Bible scholars assume, but rather he is talking about the four groups who will reign with him during the millennium. St. Matthew's account in the Olivet Discourse is not the same as the account in St. Mark or in St. Luke. St. Mark and St. Luke's account had a near-time fulfillment. That is, when Titus besieged Jerusalem and the early Christians had to flee. But St. Matthew is talking about the end times fulfillment of Jesus' words. In other words, the times we are living in today. Now in Revelation chapter number 11, St. John talks about these exact same four groups and in the exact same order. In verse number 18 he says, "And that you should give reward to your servants." The servants are the converted Jews, and the prophets are the raptured Protestants. If there's one thing I've learned on this series of programs, is that Protestants are far more interested in prophecy than Catholics are. The third group are the saints, and these are the protected Catholics. And there's no doubt that Catholics are far more interested in Mary and the saints than Protestants. And the fourth group are the holy martyrs, and those who fear your name. Thus we see, if you want to escape the Antichrist, you need to belong to one of the three groups I've been talking about, either the converted Jews, the raptured Protestants, or the protected Catholics. In the book of Revelation, St. John enumerates 12 characteristics for each of these groups. Be sure to read the book of Revelation so that you can understand which of these groups you may belong to. But don't forget, Jesus may want you to follow him to the cross. He may ask you to be a martyr in his name. Either way, whether you are in one of the three protected groups or in the group of holy martyrs, you will join with Jesus during the millennium, and you will survive the reign of the Antichrist. And if you need more information, simply write to the address you see on your screen.